if my reading between the lines of the minimal information available about Fortune's Weave is correct, we might be seeing a whole lot of new mounts in this game. Kai, one of the main protagonists, is described as someone who fights while riding mounted animals, plural, which to me sounds like he may actually have some sort of mechanic where he can ride all kinds of creatures. We already see a new kind of mount in the trailer, being the flying Orneus, a fictional bird that's reminiscent of an ostrich, and who knows, there might be many more. Which made me think this might just be the perfect time to look back at all the available mounts we've seen in the Fire Emblem series, ranging from real-life animals to creatures that have surely never walked our Earth. But let's start simple, with horses. As one of the few to have been available in every Fire Emblem game, the horse is to mounts what water is to drinks. Yeah, it's super important, it's objectively probably the best, but it's also kinda boring. What's honestly an even bigger surprise, if you think about it, is that horses are the only mount in the entire Fire Emblem series to actually be used for warfare in real life as well, even if those days have now long passed. Just like in real life, horses have appeared with all kinds of different colors of fur and manes, and have never really behaved in any way that suggests the animal in Fire Emblem is different than the real life version. The sole exception is Free Houses, where the horses have these almost bunny-like ears that stand straight up, which doesn't exist in real life at all. No clue why the design decision was made, but I actually kinda like it, looks fun. But yeah, if you wanna know more about horses, visit your local ranch, don't ask me. I'm here for the Fire Emblem stuff, such as, did you know that a total of 38 different classes from all across the series use a horse as a mount? It will soon presumably be 39, as we've already seen a new carriage-like class called Charioteer in the trailer for Fortune's Weave, which uses not one but two horses, which is a first. It's similar to the Transporter class, which was Merlina's exclusive in the Elite games, but he only used one horse. Anyway, it's not like that one new class is making a world of difference, because with 38 classes, horses are by far the most prolific mount. As in, there are more horse riding classes than all other mounts combined. That's Elite, the horses are never giving up. So what may then be a bit of a surprise to hear maybe, is that while horses are much more common, it appears their in-universe owners don't care for them as much. As in, there are only 4 horses in the entire series with a confirmed name, which is a number Pegasus, for example, hit before the series had even gone worldwide. In fact, the first time a horse was ever named in the Fire Emblem series was in New Mystery of the Emblem, the 12th game in the series. This is the horse used by Beck, who was given the creative name Pony. 20 years of thinking up names and that's the best you can do? And the worst thing is, this isn't even the least creative name in the franchise. In Engage, the name of Amber's horse is Horsey. If only one of his closest allies was a creative writer, oh well. At least Fates and Free Houses show that not all characters name their horse with the first word that pops into their head, as Sophie's steed is named Abel, after Shadow Dragon's cavalier Abel, while Marianne's horse is called Dort. As far as I'm aware, that's not a reference to anything, but I do think it's very fitting that Marianne is really the only character that has named their horse something that's both creative and not a reference to a past game. Small step from the horse to the Pegasus, another staple of the series. Possibly because Pegasi are completely fictional, IS has taken a bit more liberties when it comes to these creatures, not exactly sticking to what Greek mythology says about them. For example, nowhere is it ever said that Pegasi can only be ridden by women, yet somehow that is very consistently the case in the Fire Emblem series, to the annoyance of several male characters who dream of doing just that, like Hubert for example. This idea is probably derived from the belief that unicorns can only be ridden by fair maidens, i.e. women. I've always wondered whether this was a reference, so intentional, or whether someone on the development team just confused the two and they just decided to keep it. The fact that there are several models and sprites of the Pegasus across the series that show it with adornments reminiscent of horns does imply it's intentional, at least later down the line. Muddying the waters even more is the existence of the Phalacorn, which is essentially a unicorn with wings. They're formally introduced and named for the first time in Fates, where they are essentially the Norian version of the common Pegasus seen in Hoshido, but classes that feature the Phalacorn, such as the Falcon Knight, have consistently showed them with horns ever since their introduction in Radiant Dawn. While the exact biological details of the Pegasus can as such differ per game, what has been kept consistent is their white coloration. Only one class has Pegasi in a different color, being the black variant used by the Dark Flyers as seen in Awakening and Free Houses. Now, like I said, unlike horses, Pegasi do often get given a pet name by their riders, even more so than wyverns. In fact, Pegasi receiving names predates supports, which is actually kinda impressive seeing as that's where most of the names hail from since then. Fee from Genealogy of the Holy War calls her Pegasus Anand, which is the name of her aunt, who had passed away at this point. Nice little detail that. Freyja's Hermes, which is Karen's Pegasus, and the Blazing Blade and the Sacred Stones even have two. You've got Yui belonging to Florina and Murphy, who is Farina's, as well as the Pegasi belonging to Tana and Vanessa, who are called Achaeus and Titania. The latter would obviously in the next game be the name used for quite an important character, so that is a little unfortunate. And then it gets quiet for a surprisingly long time, as the next Pegasus to be named is not until Engage, where Hortensia has her unique class Sleipnir rider, which suggests her Pegasus is named Sleipnir. But yeah, Awakening, Fates, Free Houses, all don't have any named Pegasi whatsoever, despite them being the games that would start naming horses, as well as continue naming wyverns. Now, I recently made a video talking about all kinds of dragons in Fire Emblem, where I also covered wyverns, since, they're a kind of dragon. So in order to not just repeat myself, I'm gonna keep it short here and focus purely on the role of wyverns as a mount. For example, unlike their flying cousins, the Pegasi, wyverns don't give a hoot about who's on their back and have appeared in all kinds of different colors, although green and black appear more frequently. Another key difference between wyverns and all other mounts is that wyverns have also appeared as monster enemies on their own, where they attack using their fire breath. It's rare though, the vast majority of the time they are mounts, and just like Pegasi, that means they get pet names as well. The first hails from Freyja, where Ada calls her wyvern Kate, which is not exactly the name I would think of for a friggin' dragon, and it's pretty much the only time ever that a wyvern is named anything but an epic monster name. Take Tryfin and Levry from the Binding Blade, belonging to Melody and Zeiss, or Hyperion and Umbriel, Heave and Vida's wyverns from the Blazing Blade. Then there's Generog, Cormac's wyvern from Sacred Stones, before a slew of reference names. Minerva from Awakening, named after the character from the Arcania games, Ace from Fates, whose Japanese name is Michelle, which is a reference to Michaelis, Minerva's brother, and finally Camille from Engage, who belongs to Rosado and is a reference to Camilla, who indeed has probably kinda replaced Minerva as the most high-profile wyvern rider in the series. Okay, but with this trio we all know done and covered, we can get into the mounts you may forget even exist in the first place. Now, it did take the series quite a while until it started introducing mounts that weren't one of these original three, especially if you overlook variants like the Phallicorn, which is really just a Pegasus with a horn. Awakening was the very first to break the mold, introducing the Griffin as an alternate path for wyvern riders to take. Griffins are hybrid animals that have the body of a lion and the head and wings of eagles, and from a gameplay perspective fall right into the gap between wyverns and Pegasi. They're faster than wyverns but less bulky, and more bulky than Pegasi but less fast. There's not a whole lot known about them, lore-wise or biologically, since they only ever appear in Awakening and then later Engage as well, without really much fuss being made about it. Only one class uses them, the Griffin Knight, and no character exists that canonically rides them, so they serve very little purpose outside of gameplay. What is funny though is that in Free Houses, the coat of arms of Fargus and the church depicts a griffin, which is similar to what many real-life coats also do. As such, it kinda implies to me that in Fodlan, griffins are fantasy creatures, which would be interesting, but perhaps Fortune's Weave will shine some additional light on that. Moving on to Fates, we find another unique kind of mount, another flying variant. The Kinshi is a large bird exclusively bred and used in Hoshido. While there is nothing to immediately point at as being unrealistic, the Kinshi is very much not real and entirely based on Japanese mythology, which fits Hoshido's aesthetic to a T, obviously. So, Kinshi translates to Golden Kite, which is, according to legend, the bird that passed on messages from the kami, so the spirits or deities, to Japan's first ever emperor Jimmu. As such, while the Kinshi itself is very much not real, it is essentially a fantasy version of the real-life kite bird, which is a sort of buzzard. It's not really reminiscent of what the in-game Kinshi looks like at all. I doubt they looked at the real-life kite for a second when designing this, but the real-life connection is there. But unfortunately, just like the Griffin, this bird is light on in-game information, as it's only used by one class in one version of a game, even if the Kinshi at least does have a canonical writer in Raina. And before you ask, no, she didn't name her Kinshi. And then we have the most recent addition to the group, at least out of the ones we can actually use right now, the wolf. Yes, after more than 30 years, we have another non-flying mount besides the horse, and also the second ever mount that actually exists. Although, while wolves are very much real, the idea of a human riding one is 100% fantasy and has never happened. To put it simply, wolves are not strong enough to carry a human, although it should be said Fire Emblem's wolves are significantly larger than the real deal. Anyway, unlike the other mounts, Wolf Knights mostly focus on the use of daggers, although they also have access to the weapon triangle's weapons, so the streak of all mounted units using lances does remain, although knives are clearly the main point of the Wolf Knight. Seeing as these mounts were first introduced in the literal last game, Engage, which wasn't exactly going wild with world building and lore to begin with, not a lot is known about these guys either, but at the very least we have a semblance of personality here. While every wolf in the game is beige, so a bit browny, Marin's wolf is white, suggesting this is her own personal wolf. Sadly, it doesn't have a name, which does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity. As far as the gameplay goes, the wolf does provide a pretty nice niche for mounts, as it's much more focused on speed, dexterity and luck than every other mount, while lacking in most other areas. But it does show that there's still a lot of potential and room for new mounts. And like I said in my intro, I fully expect Fortune's Weave to start filling it in. With inspiration taken from regions of the world we have never seen in a Fire Emblem game before, there are a lot of opportunities for new mounts to not just be added, but also replace pre-existing mounts. Kinda like how the Kinshi in Fates was inspired by the Japanese culture of Hoshido. I would be shocked if the Flying Orneus is the only new mount we'll see here, but only time can tell for now. What kind of mounts would you like to see in the future? Share it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like and subscribing. And if you really want to support me, you can now become a channel member to get all kinds of fun perks and help me keep bringing these videos to your doorstep every week. For now, thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of your day.